Breaking today, Prince Harry has just lost the plot. I know a lot of you will think that happened a long time ago, but this is the height of insanity. The madman, and I really do mean that, has leaked his own security report, which he had previously submitted to the government to try and get you, to try and get me, British taxpayers, to spend millions and millions of pounds a year to ensure that he has armed guards wherever he goes in the world. He has leaked this to his propagandists at Woke ITV, suggesting that he is such a terror target ahead of his planned visit next week with Meghan Markle and his two children, Archie and Lily. Now, Meghan's real fear is that no one's going to turn up or that she will be booed. And so she continues to allow Harry to think that they are just after him and that terrorists could target him. Of course, this is a report that he paid for himself, so it should immediately be dismissed by the mainstream media. But instead, the Woketopians at Woke ITV and the Good Morning Britain show decided that this was headline news. Announcing just days before Prince Harry is expected to return to the UK, ITV News has seen a confidential security report claiming the Duke faces 6 terrorist threats, 5 of which allegedly originate in Britain. The report, prepared by the Sussex's private security firm, there's the clue, they pay them $3 million a year, also argues Harry's protection officers are prevented from adequately responding to an armed attack while he is in the UK. And the channel's royal editor, Chris Shipp, lost all credibility by posting as fact why Prince Harry's safety risk is much greater in the UK than any other country. More terrorist threats against him or originate in the UK, and how the FBI alerted him of an assassination plot because of his military service in Afghanistan. Well, Chris Shipp, you know it's not because of his military service in Afghanistan. At least you should be honest with your audience. We all know the reason that Harry has made himself particularly vulnerable to Islamists despite being on the left is because he admitted in his autobiography Spare that his kill count was 25 Taliban soldiers, which was not only crass and gross and made him really quite an embarrassment to the British Army, it was also something that put a target on his head. All of that happened when he was a private citizen working out of America for big bucks. But Chris Shipp then went on the ITV News and tried to present this report as if it was something that should be being taken seriously.
Yeah, Chris, take us through what you've learned.
So, Nina, as you say, Prince Harry is due back next week. What we don't know at this point is he going to come back on his own, or is he going to come back with Meghan and the children, which was his plan, and that's what he wants to do. The reason why he's having to make this decision is because he thought he'd get a change in his security apparatus when he's in the UK, and he's now been told he won't. So what we've seen is a report that was submitted by Prince Harry's security team to the committee here in the UK that decides who gets what when it comes to royal protection.
But there is a huge amount of pushback today to Chris Shipp taking this report so seriously. As Richard Eden of the Daily Mail put it, if this is the case, wouldn't it have been wise for Harry not to have boasted in his memoirs about how many Afghans he had killed? Tori Buckahay on X said, so dumb, unemployed Prince Harry gets a garbage security report written for him, and Chris Shipp publicises it like Dumbo is an important world leader. What an absolute farce. And royal YouTube sensation, a contributor here on Outspoken, according to Taz, made the point that if Harry actually truly does feel that there is such a serious threat against his family in the UK, then why the hell is he actually bringing his children here? She says he either has no intentions of bringing Archie and Lily and has just used them to pressure Ravik and to emotionally blackmail his father by lying, or he knows deep down that there is no major threat and he's still using the children to get what he wants. But the royal grift is even concerned that Harry could try and engineer some type of false flag attack. She said, I can see these two harming others around them to prove to the Home Office he is a target. Sounds like Harry is foreshadowing it. Now, Rafe Hadel-Manku is a royal historian. And Rafe, before we get into the details of this bombshell report from ITV, I think we do just have to talk about the overall context of this decision, Rafe, because ITV as a news organisation is just taking this report seriously, taking it at face value. Whereas this report is actually prepared by a team of security experts who Prince Harry pays $3 million a year to. And what my belief is, Rafe, and this hasn't been reported in the mainstream media, but I am convinced of it, is that the reason Harry wants protected status here in the United Kingdom is that once you get it, you have it forever and you have it wherever in the world you go. I know for a fact, right, that all of our former prime ministers, Rafe, and let's be honest, they're growing at quite a rate of knots at the moment. Slippery Starmer will be the next to receive this. Their security is virtually never taken away, even though there are sort of regular checks. And that means, Rafe, it doesn't matter where in the world they are. They have that security. So if Slippery Starmer goes on holiday to the Maldives in 3 weeks' time, we pay for security to follow him around the world. It costs millions and millions of pounds, Rafe. And how insane that he's not a working member of the royal family, that he's slagged off our country, that he's slagged off the royals. I had actually argued, tried to end them by pushing these false racism complaints, yet he still wants us to pay. And you see what I'm saying, Rafe? It's not just that he would receive security when he was in the UK. He would receive it wherever he is in the world, because that's what happens if you get that protected status. Don't miss a single update on the stories that actually matter. I'm breaking down the news every day, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a beat. Click that subscribe button right now.
Yeah, you may very well be right on that front. And so, of course, the argument is quite clear. With the privilege of getting security like that comes responsibility. There's no free lunch in this world. And well, he had the benefit of enjoying a free lunch when he was young, but the time has come now where you actually have to do your duty. He has failed miserably to do his duty. Just being a member of the royal family doesn't entitle you to that. As you've said, it's been due to his own lack of discretion, because of his own choices and decisions, that he's made himself into a security risk. But I can't help but go back to what you're saying. This is not a real security report. This is an advocacy report made, paid by him essentially, because he's funding this company, to essentially make the case that he himself was incapable of making successfully after 6 years of trying to persuade the government to restore his state-funded police protection. And of course, how have they done this? Well, they spent a huge amount of time, it seems to me by reading what I read, to try to suggest that the real threats coming to Prince Harry were from the far right. Once again, this
how convenient.
Right. And,
how convenient.
And I thought, really, because all the online far right that I've read have been really anti-monarchy. So I don't really think, if there is this real far right, that they are monarchist in any sense whatsoever.
And they just don't
have
care.
any interest in dealing with the royal family at all. So that's the first thing I would point out, that, I don't think Prince Harry would be on the radar of anybody on the far right because he's a traitor to the monarchy. I mean, many of them regard members of the royal family themselves as being traitors to the monarchy. So that certainly doesn't hold true. The second thing to say is, my God, we've just had in the last few days the Princess of Wales popping up on a three-peak challenge without having, which obviously is a very highly risky place to be, open to everybody, not a very easy place if you had knowledge of that, where you could go and strike there. So we have members of the royal family quite clearly. She was just recently outside of the royal box at Wimbledon, going to other places as well, which we may discuss later. Point is, other members of the royal family are willing to take more risks with their lives. They are outside of the royal family. We have this excuse that they can't come to the UK because of the security threat. Members of the royal family have been going abroad for years secretly without anyone knowing. The late Queen would go to Kentucky all the time to go and visit her friends in the horse breeding business. Prince Charles, Prince Andrew, Prince Edward would go on trips to Canada, which were never recorded officially. There was nothing stopping Harry and Meghan jumping onto a plane at any point in the summer and going to Balmoral and visiting Prince Charles, and nobody would have known about that visit at all.
Exactly, but they don't want to do that, Rafe, because they want to use the visit in order to stop having to pay. Because here's the thing, they're in financial dire straits. And we know that their annual security bill, Rafe, is $3 million a year. They can't afford to keep paying it. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why they want to force the British government to give it so they can stop paying it. By the way, I'm so glad that you mentioned Catherine, because of course the Three Peaks is a great example, but I think this Wimbledon example is actually even more telling, Rafe, because look at that today. So she's on court 18, I think, Rafe, if you know Wimbledon. And look, people are passing behind her. Do you see that? And as Royally Sage put it, she's sitting there where people can walk by without drama, about security. This is the future Queen of England. And so Harry is trying to create a dire situation here. I do think a lot of this is because he has gone a bit mad, and there's a lot of psychedelics involved. There's a lot of marijuana involved. He's been very open about that. And of course, we know Meghan Markle has really tried to increase his paranoia. Like if you think about the Netflix Harry and Meghan documentary, Rafe, she wanted him to be so worried about the fact that there were paparazzis following their car in New York City. And she was really trying to push him to be afraid of that. I mean, the irony of that, given this is the woman who used to, hello, paparazzi, come and follow me. I'm going to be at Soho House at this time. I mean, the irony of that. But also, if you're a supportive wife, you should say, darling, it doesn't matter. Paparazzis always follow celebrities in New York. It's not a big deal. But she wasn't doing that. She was trying to make him feel afraid. So I do think that has been an aspect of this.
Yes. Do you want to call it coercive control?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do think so. I do think
The Duchess of Duplicity has form here, right? Firstly, of course, she's very much a Montecito princess, and if you look at the security details surrounding great American movie stars or American pop stars, I mean, they have a larger security detail than members of the royal family. So she probably has dreams of being like an Oprah Winfrey or a Kanye West, or I don't know many American singers of the moment now to cite other great celebrities. But I think she may want the status of having that sort of security detail around her. But of course, you put your finger on it earlier on. I think she's trying to wind up Harry as well and make every possible gambit that the British government won't grant security status, and therefore Prince Harry won't take her over there because she doesn't want to be booed. She never wants to come to this country. So she's trying to convince Harry actually that he'll never be able to take his family over there. I think that's deeply at the root here, because the one thing she can't stand is the idea of being rejected by the British public, and she knows that that's inevitably going to happen if she comes over.
Totally, and she's so scared about being booed, of course. But look, Rafe, let's go through the report, because, Chris Schiff is taking it very seriously. And this report is what has been sent to RAVIC, which is the government committee that decides whether Harry is under threat. So Chris Schiff reports that he faces an elevated risk from terror plots. And he argues that he is the focus of 6 terrorist plots, 5 of which originated in the UK. That is according to what he describes as a highly sensitive security report seen by ITV News. Now, this hasn't been leaked by the government, okay? This has been leaked directly from Prince Harry and his team to Chris Shipp at Woke ITV. And Shipp says the revelations come as the Duke of Sussex is preparing to travel to the UK and has still not decided whether to bring his family to his home country, which he considers is unsafe. Remember, they've been to Colombia, they've been to Nigeria, they've been to Chicago, but he feels that the UK is unsafe. Okay. The report, commissioned by Harry's own private security firm, details dozens of threats and potential attacks facing the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and includes an Al-Qaeda document which called for his assassination. The document was submitted to the UK Security Committee tasked with deciding whether Harry should get state-funded protection when he travels in the country. The whereabouts of 4 of the convicted individuals associated with the terrorist threats against Harry are currently unknown to the private security firm employed by the Sussexes. The confidential risk assessment was prepared for the Prince in February and was sent to the RAVIC committee. It decides which high-profile politicians and members of the royal family get police protection paid by the Home Office. A copy of the report, which has been obtained by ITV News, found that there are at least 6 plots against the Duke, from jihadist and right-wing threat actors that have targeted other high-profile Britons. The US-based security firm employed by Harry and Meghan highlighted that the highest priority threat to the Sussex family comes from terrorism, also known as grassroots or lone actor terrorism. The Threat and Vulnerability Risk Assessment Marked Confidential reports that the UK's Metropolitan Police, I presume, are aware of nearly 500 potential stalkers targeting the royal family, of which half have demonstrated a threat against Prince Harry, Meghan, and their 2 children. Despite Harry and his children being 5th, 6th, and 7th in line to the throne, he had his automatic royal protection removed in 2020. Harry claims he was promised a review each year. However, none has taken place, he believes. He's travelling to his home country for a series of events and had already announced he would travel with Meghan and the children. But Harry's office says they received a letter at the end of last week saying they could have the phone number of a police liaison officer during the visit, but nothing more. I sort of love that because it's shade from the British government and the police, right? It's basically them saying, we're not buying into this. Here's the phone number. I sort of love it. You're no different to Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or any other high-profile, very rich individual that flies into the country. But first, we've partnered with Gundry MD to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yep, it's true. And it's not some weird trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. You're probably used to cooking with it, but there are countless ways to use olive oil to help yourself look and feel younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible, whether it's taking a shot of it daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cabinet. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits, but if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. The olive oil industry is huge, right? You can tell that by the number of olive oil brands you see at the grocery store, and you can bet they're not all made with the consumer in mind. Many brands may even cut corners one way or another to increase profits. When Dr. Gundry came to that realization, he was appalled. But some olive oils are so powerful it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So how can you tell between an olive oil that can be a health booster and which one isn't up to par? In an effort to answer that question, Dr. Gundry has decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. The video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it so you can start benefiting immediately. You can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com/outspoken or by clicking the link in the description box below. That's getolive1.com/outspoken or just click on the link in the description box below. People who have taken his advice have shared their results with him, saying the olive oil they bought after learning his simple rules have helped change their lives. So make sure you go to getolive1.com/outspoken or click on the link in the description box below this video. But now, back to the show. But Chris Ship went on that Harry's security company does provide personnel to accompany him when he travels overseas, but their report acknowledges that the protection teams cannot carry guns on UK soil and concludes that UK authorities are much better positioned to provide him with more comprehensive protection. Without being able to carry lethal weapons, it concludes Harry's private protection officers are prevented from adequately responding to an armed attack from a terrorist, criminal, or mentally unstable actor. Only UK police with authorization from RAVIC can carry lethal weapons while protecting the Duke. Its assessment is that the only way to mitigate residual risks to the Duke is to provide him with state-backed security. Surprise, surprise, that's the conclusion that Harry paid a lot of money for. The document notes that despite quitting his role as a working member of the royal family, Harry is still the king's son and remains a symbol of the crown. I would disagree with that, actually, but okay, that's how he sees it. It adds extremists with grievances against Great Britain, including jihadists or others that oppose the Commonwealth, pose a considerable threat and do not take his specific role into account. The Duke has been the target of specific jihadist threats ever since serving in Afghanistan. In 2023, the FBI informed Prince Harry's security team that it had received intelligence from overseas that senior leaders in Al-Qaeda had published a document on a closed channel on the Telegram messaging service specifically referencing the assassination of the Duke of Sussex. The document, which came to the FBI from another intelligence agency, had called on followers living in the West to kill Air Force personnel who had operated in Afghanistan or are supporting Israel and that have killed Muslims. Now, it's interesting that Harry doesn't think the FBI should protect him. Paid for by the US government, isn't it? It was in this context that Harry's name was mentioned, as he has served in Afghanistan. Other threats listed included a May 2023 attempt to access Harry and Meghan's home in Montecito by a man carrying a hammer and duct tape. Oh, again, I note that security threat happened in America, not the United Kingdom. It also includes documents on how fixated individuals have threatened Harry's safety, referring to how in January of this year, a woman known to the Met's Fixated Threat Assessment Centre twice gained access to the courtroom in London's High Court. Now, I've blown this apart before, right? This is just a member of the Sussex squad. It's just a crazy fan. It's a crazy fan. Chris Shipp has actually had his picture with this woman. I've shown it on previous shows. So this is just a fan. There she is. Honestly, not a threat. This is desperate. This is desperate because this is all he's got. Basically a fan. You've got to be crazy. Okay, I admit, you've got to be crazy if you're a fan who travels around the world to see Prince Harry. Yep, you're crazy. Right? I agree with you. She's not trying to kill him. Okay? She's just a fan. Shipp goes on. His private security firm also says it is tracking 28 people who have demonstrated dangerous stalking behaviour targeting the Sussex family. And it clearly states that the safety risk to Harry and Meghan is much more elevated in the UK, where a majority of the most serious threats have originated. Harry's lack of state-funded protection means anyone wanting to make an attack against the British royal family could conclude that the Duke is the most vulnerable member of the family, says the report. Harry has always suspected, and this is where we get to the nub of the issue, and the paranoia, the nuttiness, he thinks the royal family are out to kill him, because he says Harry has always suspected senior courtiers around his father and brother, dragging Prince William into this, who has nothing to do with it, do not want him to have state-funded security. King Charles, who was in Scotland this week, has not seen his grandchildren, Archie and Lily, since 2022, but Buckingham Palace says all issues of security are matter for the Home Office and the King cannot get involved. That's true. The Home Office said its protective security system is rigorous and proportionate, but would not give details around individual arrangements. Now, Rafe, I've never seen anything more crazy than this in my life. Like, public figures do not talk about their security for an issue, for a reason, Rafe. Like, they do not talk about these issues for a reason. You know, a man has been jailed because of security threats against me in the past. I don't shout about it. I don't talk about it. If you spend your life, Rafe, looking for threats, you, me, Tommy Robinson, we could all never leave the house. And unfortunately, this is all Harry has got. But to outline these threats in a document like this, intended to be privately received by the British government, only to leak it to a UK media organisation when you claim you hate the media. I mean, it's truly nuts. It's almost like he's just saying, attack me so that I can get my security paid for. What is he thinking?
Yeah, it's almost like he wants to say, you know, he wants to have his nose cut off, basically, just to say, you know, I told you I was a risk. You know, I told you I was at risk. This is what's happened. It's your fault now that this attempt has been made on me. I think paranoia does lie at the heart of this. I think he's convinced that the family, his own family, are influencing Ravek. We know that he mistakenly or incorrectly asserted that his brother had representation at Ravek, something, of course, we know wasn't true, but he seems to believe that that is the case. And I think much of this is linked to that hugely as well. But you put your finger on it earlier on. You know, I would say that there's a much higher risk of an attack on someone like Elon Musk, who we know that the far left, with all of their extremists, loathe and detest. If Elon Musk comes to the UK on an unofficial visit, he won't get security details, yet he's at far higher risk. He will just have to deal with his own security.
Welcome back to the channel. A new controversy surrounding Prince Harry has once again sparked debate over royal security, taxpayer funding, media coverage, and the ongoing relationship between the Duke of Sussex and the British establishment. At the center of the discussion is a confidential security assessment reportedly submitted to the UK committee responsible for determining protective arrangements for members of the royal family and other public figures. Reports suggest that portions of the document have since been obtained by ITV News, triggering widespread discussion across newspapers, television programs, and social media. The story has reignited a long-running argument that has divided public opinion ever since Prince Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in 2020. Should Prince Harry continue receiving state-funded police protection when visiting Britain? Or, having chosen a private life overseas, should he now be responsible for arranging and paying for his own security, like any other high-profile individual? Those are the questions dominating today's headlines. To understand why this latest development matters, it's worth revisiting how this dispute began. When Prince Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back as senior working royals, they also ceased carrying out official duties on behalf of the Crown. Following that decision, the UK government determined that Harry would no longer receive the same automatic level of taxpayer-funded police protection whenever he visited Britain. Instead, officials decided that any security arrangements would be assessed on a case-by-case basis, depending on the circumstances of each visit. Prince Harry has challenged that decision through legal channels, arguing that he remains a significant security target because of his royal status, military service, and international profile. Government lawyers, however, have maintained that the existing system is both appropriate and proportionate. That disagreement has now stretched on for several years. The latest chapter comes after ITV News reported that it had seen a confidential security assessment prepared by Prince Harry's private security advisors. According to those reports, the assessment argues that the Duke faces multiple security threats, including terrorist threats, and recommends that state-backed police protection is necessary whenever he visits the United Kingdom. The report reportedly states that private security personnel accompanying Harry are unable to provide the same level of protection as armed British police officers because private guards cannot carry firearms in the UK under normal circumstances. Supporters of Prince Harry argue this demonstrates why government protection remains essential. Critics, however, point out that the report was commissioned by Harry's own security team, raising questions about whether it should be treated as an independent assessment. That distinction has become one of the biggest talking points surrounding the story. Many commentators have questioned whether the report should automatically be accepted without scrutiny. Their argument is relatively straightforward. Any professional security company has an incentive to identify risks and recommend the highest possible level of protection. That doesn't necessarily mean the conclusions are inaccurate, but it does mean the assessment was not produced by an independent government agency. As a result, some believe journalists should present the document with appropriate context, rather than treating its findings as established fact. Others disagree, arguing that security professionals are qualified to assess risks, regardless of who commissions the report. The disagreement isn't simply about security, it's also about credibility. How much weight should be given to privately commissioned reports when they are used in public debates involving government decisions and taxpayer money? Security for internationally recognized public figures is expensive. That much is beyond dispute. Specialist protection teams, secure transportation, advanced planning, intelligence gathering, and residential security can cost millions of dollars every year. This is why the debate has become so politically sensitive. If Prince Harry were once again granted permanent state-funded protection in Britain, critics argue taxpayers would shoulder costs for someone who no longer carries out official royal duties. Supporters counter that Harry did not choose the circumstances of his birth. They argue that his profile, combined with his military history and global recognition, creates unique security risks that cannot simply be ignored because he stepped away from royal work.